Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the beautiful Amber Brooke. Amber, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing so well. I'm so excited to be here with you. I actually stumbled upon you on Instagram, and we'll talk about how I did that here in just a second. But I want to talk a little bit about you first. Amber is a model and an actress, a lover of all things horror, and she started modeling a little over a year ago and acting a little less than a year ago, and she's fallen in love with that. So, what pushed you to become an actor?
Actually, when I was growing up, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to act, I wanted to model, I wanted to have fun in life. And then I decided that I'm getting really old and it's time for me to do something with myself that I've always wanted to do. And a friend of mine knew Jason Brooks, and Jason Brooks said he was filming a new movie. So we auditioned, got the part, and that was it.
Right. And funny enough, you will be playing Charity in Friday the 13th fan film Vengeance 2 Bloodlines. Jason Brooks, great guy. Peter Anthony, one of the kindest, nicest guys you could ever hope to come in contact with, a genuine, very good friend of mine. So I'm very excited to see how you do in the film. I'm very, very excited about. Spoiler free, can you tell us anything about your role in the film?
I am the leader of the stoner group, so I'm not a good person. I do get to hang out with Jason a little bit. Don't tell him I said this, but he's not that
scary. Yeah. I can see that. But on top of that, we talked about you being a model as well. You have landed 6 covers as of this filming, so congratulations on that. That's something really awesome. And being a model and an actress, something I want to say, obviously you guys can follow her on all her social media links. They're down here in the description below, and she does very good work with her modeling. It's something she's very, very proud of, so I suggest that you go and check it out because I think you're going to enjoy that as well. But you are also getting ready to film The Things We See. You play the character Amanda. So again, spoiler free because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Can you tell us a little bit about this and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, so I play the character of Amanda, like you said. I am the main character, Briscoe's sister. Briscoe's a little bit on the crazy side. So I'm the sister that's trying to help out, but he doesn't want her help and shit gets crazy. It's not a horror film, it's a psychological thriller, something that gets your mind going. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I start filming actually in June instead of July. So we're moving on up.
Well, that's awesome. And again, you guys can keep up to date by clicking these links in the description. So make sure you're doing that and following her on all her social media links. Now, I talked about at the beginning how I stumbled upon you through Instagram. On Tuesdays, you are the host of Tuesday Terror live on Instagram, where you have a guest come on and you discuss a horror related topic. And you had Jason Brooks on there, and that popped up on my thing. And I watched that, and I was watching you, and I was like, wow, I really, really love her energy, her charisma. I would love to know how horror started for her. And that's how we ended up hooking up. What gave you the idea of Tuesday Terror?
It just kind of came to me the one day, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm just going to start doing lives because I love horror movies. I love talking to people, and I like to do a lot of promotional things to help out my friends like that are in movies and music, whatever. So I think my first guest was Peter, and I had him on to help him with his new movie that just came out, The Fall of Camp Blood. So we talked a lot about that, and then it just kept going from there.
It's a great thing, and the best thing about it is you can watch it by clicking these links down in the description below. So make sure you guys are clicking these links. Like I said, anything that I could watch horror related, I try to, because there's a lot of horror content out there, and the best thing about it is you have all these different amazing horror content creators that are doing completely different things, but are very knowledgeable and very up to date on everything that they're doing. And Amber is no exception to that. So make sure you guys are checking that out. So Amber, we know what you got going on in the future with filming and what you're doing right now with Tuesday Terror, but here for a little bit, I want to go back to the past and talk about how horror started for you. The first horror movie that you watched. And Amber, your first horror movie was?
Oh man, well, let me just bring out my little Funko Pops here. I've got Jumbo and Shorty. Yeah, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, 80s at its finest.
Yes. And the best thing about that film is it is one of those that they really put in a huge effort on such a B movie. A lot of people that watch this film, it's so obviously cheesy and which is what they were really going for, but they really did an amazing job. And the score, everything about this movie fits so perfectly together. Do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I was around 5. Probably not a great age for a child to watch a movie such as that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was young.
Yeah. And it's funny because you always hear about my fear of clowns started with it. My fear of clowns started with it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space was out a little bit before that. And I remember watching that for the first time right about the same age. So do you remember who you were with the first time you watched it?
My dad. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, this should be fine. This should be fine." Yeah, okay. Well, I never wanted to go to the circus again. So, no, it's not fine.
Right, right. And I love that because I'm the same with my kids. My son loves horror movies. My youngest daughter loves them. My middle daughter's like, no, no, thank you. But my parents owned a video store growing up. We had a mom and pop video store, and I always gravitated to the horror section because those covers were the coolest out of all of them. So that's kind of how horror started for us too. And Killer Clowns is one of those movies that has, like I said, it is very cheesy, but it has a lot of very effective scenes, especially as a child. Amber, do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most from Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
I have to say, the scene that still sticks with me today, it doesn't scare me or anything. It's just my favorite scene because I was like, wow, this is just great. Is the knock my block off scene where Shorty punches the biker guy's head off and it lands right in the garbage can. It's fantastic. What are you going to do? Knock my block off? Yep.
Well, funny you should mention that because that's exactly what I'm going to do. Um, Another thing about this movie is I recently at the time of filming, because this episode won't be released until July. So by the time you guys watch this, she's already started filming her stuff. So you better get to clicking those links in the description. But the movie just had its birthday recently. So it's funny how we were talking about this movie and then it started popping up everywhere. And they're actually doing a lot of stuff this summer, doing a little concert for the score and everything like that. So I hope you guys can get to checking that out as well, because it's very exciting to see horror movies like this still etched in time and still be so influential to us today. So Killer Clowns from Outer Space does have something we love as horror fans, is the kills. We love the kills. It does have its fair amount of kills. Which kill would you say was your favorite? I hate saying favorite because it's really weird and dark, but which kill would you say affected you the most from the film?
I really can't say that any of them really affected me the most. I think it's more so that when they were put into the cotton candy pods, those scared the shit out of me because like as a kid you love cotton candy and then you see dead bodies in the cotton candy, so you're like, nope, no circus or cotton candy.
It's like that was our Soylent Green right there. Like it's made out of people. Ah. Yeah. So another question I've been asking recently, Amber, and I feel like this would be a really good candidate for this question. As of right now, remakes, reboots, requels are kind of all the rage in Hollywood right now. Would you like to see a Killer Clowns remake today?
See, I don't think so because it's got that 80s campy, shitty, corny vibe. And if we remake it today, it's not going to be the same. Just like you hear they're going to do The Crow. And I'm like, no, come
Mhm.
on, don't do that. And The Exorcist, they're doing The Exorcist. Like, come on, that movie was perfect. Don't mess with
Mhm.
it. But no, I don't think I would.
See, and I feel the same way you do, especially like when you're talking about The Crow. Um, I'm fine with them doing another Crow. I really wish they wouldn't do the Eric Draven story. I wish they would have continued like they did with the sequels, because I'd love to see Bill Skarsgård playing the character. But I just wish they would have picked a different version like they had before, not redoing the Eric Draven story. That's already been done perfectly. Um, and Killer Clowns is another one like you were talking about that I can't imagine them doing the dinosaur scene today and making it look as good as it did back then. Today with the CGI and stuff, I think they would overuse that. And again, don't get me wrong, if they made a Killer Clowns remake or a requel or a sequel, I would watch it, of course. But it's not something I'm clamoring to see. So Amber, we talked about your first horror movie being Killer Clowns from Outer Space and how much that movie means to you. But now they are filming Scream 6, and my little buddy Ghostface was able to get offset for a little bit, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Amber? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Well, Ghosty, I'm not really sure if I can narrow it down, but as you can tell, I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say that they're my favorites. I'm going to have to go with the first Nightmare on Elm Street because I don't know if you've noticed, I have a Johnny Depp tattoo on my arm. I'm a big Johnny Depp fan. Johnny Depp's in the first one, gets sucked into the bed, spit out of the ceiling, and I'll just never forget that. Like, oh, that's my man. That's my movie.
And funny enough, that is the second worst thing to happen to Johnny Depp in a bed. So I totally get where you're coming from. No, and the thing about my wife wrote that joke for one of our versus episodes, which you guys can check out now on the channel. So the thing about the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've said this often, it's the perfect horror movie, as close as you can possibly get. I think it may not be my favorite, but I think when it comes to somebody asking me, hey Ken, what is the best horror film you've ever seen, it may not be the scariest, it may not be the most suspenseful, but when it comes to an overall film, I think A Nightmare on Elm Street, with the budget that it had, and it was just, it's amazing. The villain is great, he's so memorable, and he only has 7 minutes of screen time in the movie. So the first Nightmare on Elm Street was just, it's perfect up until that stupid fucking ending with that stupid Freddy car and the stupid blow up doll. I can't stand that shit. But so I do want to bounce back real quick. We're gonna go back to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and the thing about this movie is a lot of people can call it a horror comedy, a lot of people call it a horror movie, but would you classify Killer Clowns from Outer Space more as a horror comedy or as a straight horror film?
I think they wanted it to be a horror film, but it does come off more as a horror comedy. So I guess I would classify it as a horror comedy.
Okay. And my last question for you, with Killer Clowns from Outer Space, what we're going to do now is we are going to rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not being critics. We're not judging it on acting, score, production, direction, none of the above. What we're doing here, Amber, is we're strictly basing this movie on what it means to you and how much it affected you on the first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of Killer Clowns from Outer Space be?
I would say, since it made me afraid of clowns and it made me not want cotton candy, that I would have to give it a 4.
That's perfectly fair. And is it a movie that you revisited often, or was it one that like you watched it the first time and you were like, fuck this?
So at first I was like, no, never gonna watch this again. It was terrifying, nightmares forever, clowns in my dreams. But as I got older, I'm like, you know what? I'm a big girl now. I can watch this. And I watch it and I'm like, why was I afraid of this? Like, what?
Right.
This isn't even scary. It's great though, but it's not scary. So yeah, I revisit it often. My kids watch it. So
see, and that's one of those amazing things that, like, I watched my son watched Jaws with me for the first time a couple years ago. He's 14 now. In a couple years, he was probably 10 or 11. And he was like, this isn't even scary. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea how scary this was when it first came out. Obviously for him, you know, he's watched like Saw and Insidious, Sinister. Those are some of his favorite horror movies. You go from watching those to watching Jaws. Yeah, you know, I still think Jaws is one of the, you know, such an amazing, amazing film. But, you know, I see where my son's coming from. And it's like, I can't imagine me as a child starting off with a horror movie from today, you know, having my first horror movie be The Conjuring, you know, like that shit. It might have scared me away from horror forever, because yeah, House scared me the first time I seen it, but it didn't, like, I was able to breathe throughout the movie. Some of these movies I watched today, like The Dark and the Wicked, if that was my first horror movie, I would have cried myself to sleep for weeks on end. So, Amber, I do want to thank you for taking your time to come here and hang out with me and talk about the first horror movie you watched. I really hope I get to work with you again more in the future. And since we are at the end of the third act, the credits are about to roll. I want to remind everybody, I've said it about 10 times, but I want you to know I'm serious. The links are down in the description. So make sure you're following her on social media. You can stay up to date on what she's working on, but you can also stay up to date on the films that she's going to be doing and Tuesday Terror, which is something that you're going to love to watch. You get to watch different guests come on and talk about different horror related things. So what is not to love about that? So Amber, please don't go anywhere. I have a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.